Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Dirty Money, and we have an action-packed show up for you today. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I am good, and I'm really happy to see the CPI numbers are starting to come down. That's the inflation. It's down at 3%, so we're going to be covering that. But we've also got a load of other things on the show today. So the judge has rules in favor of XRP, Ripple, which is a cryptocurrency that's caused the value of that currency to shoot up. We've then got Taylor Swift's massive tour and how much money it is bringing in. You will be astounded. It is a record-breaking tour, probably the first pop music tour to surpass $1 billion. Then we also have Messi, another star, this time in the sporting world, soccer star Messi, who his team just won the World Cup, and he's now transferring to Inter Miami, which is David Beckham's team. He's a part owner in that team. And there's some huge figures going on with that, huge amounts of money included with that as well. So we're going to talk all about that. We have a few other stories. The launch of xAI from Elon Musk. We've got The Sound of Freedom, which is a movie. It beat Indiana Jones at the box office in its opening weekend. I'm going to talk about how much money that movie is grossing because it is pretty impressive for a movie that none of the big corporations are supporting. And you'll find out why a little bit later on in the show. But first of all, if you're following on any of the major podcast platforms, do give us a 5-star review and share this video with your friends. If you're on any of the micro content platforms like Instagram, YouTube Shorts, and also TikTok, our handle is Dirty Money Show. You can follow us there. But Mike, without further ado, let's start talking about Ripple and this recent SEC ruling.
Yeah, so Ripple's been in a lawsuit for a number of years right now with the SEC. They're basically saying that they were offering securities on public exchanges. The SEC was going after them. Yesterday, Annalisa Torres, a Southern District Attorney for New York, ruled in favor of XRP. So XRP cryptocurrency shot up 75% based on the news. And it's pretty interesting because it's going to set precedents for other things that are going on, like the BlackRock ETF that they want to launch with Bitcoin, Coinbase's lawsuits that are going to start going. So I'm pretty sure that it's going to make a big difference. I mean, BlackRock CEO Larry Fink said today that cryptocurrency will transcend any one currency in the future. So that just kind of gives you a little bit of idea. This is the most powerful asset-backed company in the world, and they're saying that cryptocurrency is here to stay. Now, he had a different opinion of it in 2017, but at the end of the day, this is pretty interesting stuff.
Case is between the SEC and XRP, and the judge has ruled in XRP's favor, which is great. And what's it done to XRP's price?
So XRP's price basically doubled yesterday. It's gone from 30 cents up to 75 cents, peaked out at 90 cents
Wow.
yesterday. And now we're back around 70 cents a coin, or token. But the interesting thing here is really that they also said it was kind of a win for the SEC too, because there's the fact that the company had $728 million that hedge funds and other sophisticated buyers amounted to unregistered sale of the securities, right? So those funds are not allowed. So you can't go to a hedge fund or to other securities and things like that and try to get sophisticated buyers that expect estimated returns on the money.
It doubled in price, and now it's sort of people are selling off, taking profits, aren't they? So it's dipping a bit.
So XRP is now getting to where it wants to be. I mean, I had some people say to me that, oh, it's going to hit $100. They're dreamers. Let's be clear.
To the moon.
Yeah, to the moon and back, like Dogecoin it up. It's pretty interesting to think that Coinbase is now they've already relaunched XRP, so you can pick it up on their crypto's here to stay. And the US government will have more difficulty based on this ruling to interfere with crypto. Obviously, I think they're going to appeal it, the SEC, and they're going to want to go after them more. But fundamentally, this is a good day for the crypto people.
That's a good day. Well, let's talk about some more good news because CPI is down to 3%. Okay, inflation, consumer prices index, the main measure of inflation that we use. So in the recent report that was issued, I think it was on Wednesday by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, inflation for June was at just 0.2%, which gives us year over year of 3%. Now, that is pretty incredible when you think that this time last year, inflation was at 9%, which is pretty crazy. There we go. Consumer price index. If you just scroll down, you'll actually get the numbers on the chart just a little bit further down the page. There we go. You can see 3% top right of that table, unadjusted 12-month ended June 2023. That means that inflation right now is just 1% over the 2% target. So, the Fed's target is 2%. Whether you think that's right or not, I think everyone has different opinions. But yeah, we got eggs back down to $2 a dozen. I'm finding in the store recently. Used to be $7 like last year. And it's having a great effect on stocks as well, because we've seen the NASDAQ up about 30% this year. And we've seen, in the last few days, stocks rising, led by tech stocks. Dow is starting to rise too. The Dow isn't up anywhere near as much as the NASDAQ. So if you're looking to get into stocks, you might want to look at the Dow rather than the NASDAQ, not financial advice. On screen now, you can see the difference between the NASDAQ, the S&P 500, and the Dow. So if you don't know, NASDAQ is tech stocks. That's the index of tech stocks. So they've really led the bull run. They're up over 30%. S&P 500 is kind of in the middle there with 20-something% gain. And then looking at the Dow Industrials, they've gained, but they're the slowest gainer this year. So if I was buying some stocks, I'd probably be looking at the Dow, cycling into the Dow, because we've had a lot of gains in the NASDAQ already. Obviously, next year is an election year, right? So I think probably the government wants to have the economy stable in time for the election. I mean, Biden's going around there doing his Bidenomics tour, right? Which, he's really focusing on the economy. And you can see the Fed sort of stopped raising rates recently. I think they're sort of preparing to sort of have a little bit of a bull run and stabilize the economy by next year in preparation for the election, because normally someone will not get elected when there's a bad economy. So I think that could be, the Fed is probably a little bit sympathetic towards Biden. Okay. I think they have been, they're definitely helping him. And obviously they raised interest rates a lot this year. And some people are thinking, what are they doing? They're going too fast. But I suspect it could be raising them enough so that it can bring down inflation in time for 2024.
Inflation's 3% from 9%. I mean, the cost of money's pretty high right now. Yeah. It's the highest probably in our lending lives. Me and you, we weren't borrowing money in our teens, but everything since then, this is the most expensive money I've ever seen personally. But it's normal when you think about the cost of money over the long run. It's a little bit high, but really it's about a normal rate. And I have a feeling they're going to lower the rates, the interest rates here over the course of the next 12 months when it starts getting up to that election time again.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the interest rates are going to start getting lowered, and then you'll see a bit of a spike in the money. I just don't know. Really, Jerome Powell, part of me still thinks that he's going to raise them again one more time, just because he's that kind of guy where he's going to go, no, I said I was going to do it. I'm going to do it. And he raises it, 0.25% or whatever, just to stave off any potential inflationary problems. I mean, I bought eggs for $1.15 last week. I was pretty astounded.
Wow. Yeah. Me too. Well, I got a dozen eggs in my fridge right now that I bought for $2. I'm very pleased. I was boycotting eggs because they were so expensive for a while.
I was trying to find chickens. I think next year we're going to see a great financial blossom. Inflation coming down means eventually, it'll trickle down. I mean, the job market, we still need more workers in our economy right now. We still are struggling to fill all the empty job positions. It's a matter of, how many people can we get to go to work? If you got labor rates at $20 an hour for basic labor, that's double what it was, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Yeah, it's through the roof. And people still aren't going to work. They're still like, oh, I'll work less with less. I'll live in a van down by the river.
I think people just got used to it from the pandemic. They got used to not working for a while, and now they're hooked. They want that lifestyle.
Yeah, they're hooked. And I mean, honestly, when I was 17 years old, if you lived in your van, it was like, oh, it's the creepy guy around the corner. And now it's like a dream come true. Yeah,
van life. make vlogs.
$50,000 van. Let's be awesome and live in my van. And I mean, it's fun to go hang out and go
Ford
camping.
even makes a transit van now, the Transit R, I think it's called, that's specially designed for you to fit it out inside with all, van life stuff.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
See, that's amazing because
You won't void the warranty or anything if you, customize the inside.
wow, yeah, that's pretty crazy. Considering that, there's a Friday Night Live stand-up comedy with Chris Farley talking about how he lives in a van down by the river, and it's thought to be made of like this person who just couldn't survive in the real world.
Now let's get started by letting me give you a little bit of a scenario of what my life is all about. First off, I am 35 years old, I am divorced, and I live in a van down by the river.
If you look
Yeah.
on Ford's website, you'll find it. It's really cool. There's a lot of cool photos of it. But shall we move on to something that's also pretty high in terms of talking about high amounts of money? And that is Taylor Swift, the economics of Taylor Swift's tour, or
Swiftonomics.
Swiftonomics. It doesn't have quite the same ease as Bidenomics, but it's kind of, yeah, Swinomics. Swiftonomics. Anyway, so this is huge, guys. This is it's going to be the first $1 billion grossing concert tour, which is pretty amazing. She's basically just beaten Elton John, who had like a 3 or 4 year tour. I think it's his farewell tour. It ended. It's ending this summer, and it's going to make about $887 million. So that's the previous record-breaking tour. But Taylor Swift's Eras tour, that's what it's called. It's over 100 dates, 50 dates, around 50 dates in the US, 50 dates overseas, but they've added a load of dates, so it's actually quite a lot more than that now. But it's going to gross probably around $1.3 billion. And I'll take you through some of the numbers, which is crazy. So the average attendance is 50,000 people per night. Okay, this is big stadiums and arenas and stuff. The average revenue is about $13 million per night. And, after she's paid the stadium and stuff, she gets about 10 million. And then out of that, obviously there are other costs. We've got a little bit of a breakdown actually from the Wall Street Journal. So yeah, so if she makes 13 million a night, she gets about 10 million gross. And then from there, she pays her staging costs, the promoter's cut. Together, that could be about half. So you're looking at, she's probably getting about 5 million a night, or maybe a little bit less than that, 4 million, something like that. You multiply that by 100 shows, you've got around 350 to 400, maybe even 500 million, considering she's added shows. So around $500 million in profit for her alone for the year. But then on top of that, you've got merch sales as well. And get this, each venue is stocking about 30,000 pieces of merch at an average cost of $80 per item, which is crazy. I would never pay $80 for a piece of merch. Would you?
No, I mean $80 for like a T-shirt, a sweatshirt. I guess I pay $80 for a nice shirt, but if it's like Taylor Swift's world
not a
tour,
band. Like I remember going to see bands and paying like $20 or $15 to $20.
well,
Or I was in the UK, so it was pounds, but for a shirt,
I just saw Luke Combs, and I paid $40 for a shirt.
Okay, that's quite a bit, I guess. What, a T-shirt or what?
Yeah, T-shirt, Luke Combs world tour.
Wow,
It was,
$40.
it was $39, I think, and then they had the sweatshirt for like 60 or something.
Okay.
You
Okay,
know,
so I guess, yeah, they said average price is 80, so maybe a T-shirt would be 40, and then there's a sweatshirt which
it might be the
is
average
80.
ticket price. I don't know if it's
Average merch price. Average ticket price was more around $250.
no, I mean like average sale for like the total, like one consumer coming in to
Oh, I
purchase. They
see.
might have bought
They
three
might
or
buy
four items,
yeah, okay.
and the average ticket on the merch sale is $80. But even at $80 times 30,000 buyers, you're at $2.4 million a show just in
Yes,
merch.
yeah. Yeah,
So if
that's literally what it is. It's something like several million, like 3 million, 2 million per show just in merch sales.
that's $240 million for merch on her tour if she's doing 100 shows.
Right.
Which is crazy amount of money. the real crazy thing is that the Federal Reserve in Philadelphia announced that it has boosted their economy and revenues in the city. Like, come back, Taylor Swift. We love you. Bring us money.
Yeah, let's put that article up on screen now, the USA Today, and we can read you something from it. So basically, the Federal Reserve officials released a statement saying, despite the slowing recovery in tourism in the region overall, one contact highlighted that May was the strongest month for hotel revenue in Philadelphia because since the onset of the pandemic, in a large part due to the influx of guests for Taylor Swift concerts in the city. Um, so, I mean, if you've got 50,000, yeah, and that's right as well. You can see the Eras tour. They estimate it's generating about $4.6 billion in total for all the economic impact in all the cities she's going to. That might just be the US leg, I'm not sure, but all the cities she's going to. So you got hotel rooms, additional spending at restaurants, supermarkets by the people who are coming to see it. So yeah, $4.6 billion economic impact.
Well, I also have a friend that has season tickets at Gillette Stadium for the Patriots in the Boston area, and he has about 20 different seats that he holds. And he sold his tickets that he got because he gets to the first chance at any concerts that take place there. He got about 20 tickets, and for the 4 shows, I think he netted 30K on the aftermarket.
Whoa.
Yeah,
That's pretty incredible.
So he paid, he paid 20K roughly for all the nights and all the tickets that were available that he was offered, and he sold them all aftermarket and ended up with about 30K net on the deal.
Wow.
So he's like, I paid for the whole season with Taylor Swift. It was great.
Oh, that's awesome. And so one thing is for certain, when you combine this with the wealth she already has, she will finish 2023 a billionaire. So that's pretty impressive.
Her and Kanye should get married. They can be the wealthiest entertainment couple in the world.
Kanye did say some stuff like that in one of his songs. Kim Kardashian had to smooth it over. You remember that?
Yeah, so I brought it up. I mean, it's pretty crazy to think that Taylor Swift is gonna make all this money. I mean, from this, she's a big climate activist too. So whenever she's on a private jet, make sure that it's emission scrubbing on the jet fuel.
Oh, yeah, definitely. She needs to use those electric jets that run
Electric jets.
on electricity produced by plants. Yeah. Let's move on, guys, because I want to talk about someone else who was about to become a billionaire, but then didn't because of a certain decision. But he might still become a billionaire anyway, and that is Messi. So the footballer or soccer player Messi from Argentina, he turned down a $1.6 billion contract for a team in the Saudi Arabian League, so called Al Hilal. That's the name of the team. And he went to go and play for, he's arrived now in the US to play for Inter Miami instead, which is a major league soccer team. David Beckham is a minority owner of that team with the 2 brothers. I forget their name, but yeah, basically it's known as like David Beckham's team. Seems actually it was his wife that wanted to go to Miami instead of Saudi Arabia. I don't blame her. But yeah, he turned down 1.6 billion. And he is going to be getting paid, though, still about a little bit over $50 million a year for a contract that lasts about 3 years, or perhaps it's 3 seasons. So $150 million in total. And he's now the highest paid US athlete, which is pretty cool. And there's actually an interesting breakdown of the taxes that he's going to pay here. He's going to pay about $20 million in federal tax, but luckily he's in Florida, so there's no state tax. Sure, you know all about that, Mike. It says there's no agent's fee. I'm not sure what that is. What's this jock tax? Do you know what that is?
No idea.
No idea. And then FICA and Medicare, 1.29 million, and then he's left with about $31.7 million, which is pretty great. But in addition to his base salary, he's also going to get some shares of certain revenues. So Apple TV season passes for Major League Soccer, and then also Adidas merch, so the jerseys with his name on it and stuff. That could bring him over the $1 billion mark. if he sells. Oh, here we go. The jock tax. What is this? The United States, the jock tax is colloquially named income tax levied against visitors to a city or state who earn money in that jurisdiction. Okay, so I guess because he's going to be here on a visa, I guess it's an extra tax that gets added on. So yeah, I mean, he's doing pretty well for himself.
Well, I mean, I thought about buying the season pass for MLS now that he's playing there. So, I mean, I think the season pass for MLS is $69. It's not like trying to buy the Sunday ticket for football, which
It's
is 300
$69. Oh, you mean on Apple TV? Not
on Apple
not.
TV.
Okay, I thought you meant actually there.
No. The season pass for Apple TV for
I see.
MLS. But it's not like buying the NFL ticket, which is anywhere from $300 to $500, depending on when you buy it. The MLS is 69, but NFL, the football in the US, to buy a season pass there is 300 to 500.
Oh, even
So
just for streaming.
just for streaming, so you can
Wow.
watch any game that you want to see, and because everything's based on regional broadcast rights. So if you live in Miami, you don't really have to buy it because you're going to be able to watch the MLS on whatever local station is there,
I
just
get
like
it.
football. So if I want to watch the Patriots and I'm in Tampa, then I need to buy the Sunday ticket. Otherwise, all I get is the highlights, or I have to go to a place that purchased it, like a restaurant or bar.
I
But
see.
the MLS, I mean, I wonder how many people subscribe to it total anyway. Even if he was going to get 30% and there's a million people who subscribe to it, you're talking 300 million.
I
So,
think he's probably having a huge effect on the amount of subscribers because ticket sales for the stadium for Inter Miami are already up 1,000%,
yeah,
and their Instagram account has grown by several million. It's at 8.7 million now, and it surpassed any NFL or MLB team on Instagram,
wow.
um, which is pretty impressive. I was watching a video actually, like that was released maybe a couple of weeks ago, talking about it, and they were at like 6 million. And then I went and checked their Instagram account today, and they're now at 8.7 million. So he's added a couple of million subscribers on Instagram just in a couple of weeks. So pretty impressive.
It's impressive, and we're not getting an athlete who's past his prime, which is interesting because most of the MLS athletes that come over from Europe are past their prime. Beckham, Terry Henry, a couple other players, they were all past their prime. And Messi just won the World Cup,
Yeah.
and was an influential piece of Argentina's win. They wouldn't have won it without him. So I'm wondering if he can pull Inter Miami out of the bottom ranks of the MLS right now, because that's pretty much where they're at when it comes to standings. And he's got about half a season left to do it. Um, let's see what happens if he gets them into. It'd be amazing if he wins the championship with this trash team, basically.
Well,
Um,
maybe not. Maybe next year. Maybe not this year, but
I mean, that's what I'm saying. He
next
does
year.
it this year. He walks in, plays enough to get to the playoffs, and then wins. Like, football starts here end of August, goes until February, and then we have basketball and hockey. And once basketball and hockey are almost over, MLS starts, and then we have
I see.
MLS and baseball season. And
Okay.
and so, but no one really people pay attention to baseball, but it's nowhere near as popular as football, basketball.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
hockey's popular too. Um, so it's interesting, like the amount of viewers who watch American football compared to any other sport besides soccer worldwide is dramatically different. Like, the worst viewed football game is the most viewed baseball game. The World Series,
Wow.
the World Series has the same amount of views as like the lowest rated football game on Sunday.
Wow.
Baseball, there's the best players in the world, like Otani, who's Japanese, who's a once in a lifetime player, once in a century player. He's the best pitcher and the best hitter in Major League Baseball right now. I think he just got injured though. So for Messi to come over and really give MLS this additional boost, I wonder if the US will become the number one market for soccer eventually when it comes to money. As we start getting the better players and it gets more attention,
Yeah.
they show the sport a bit more, because really, um
It's
you know
possible, but I think it's going to be hard because the leagues in Europe are just so famous and so popular.
yeah,
Um,
We get
Yeah.
Mbappe over here in his 20s. I don't know.
Is he coming? Are they trying to get him?
No, they're not going to. That's trying to get the most expensive athlete outside of,
Yeah.
in the world, besides Messi.
Let's move on to the next story, which is Elon Musk's xAI has actually just launched, and he's got a website, a website up, and so this is his new AI company. He's got sort of a landing page, and maybe you want to tell us a little bit about this, Mike.
I mean, Elon's always been the guy that's afraid of AI. I mean, he's sent out several warning shots to the world that AI is the most dangerous thing that the world has, and so he's gone and plucked some of the best people across the board, from his Tesla, from SpaceX, from the Google think tanks, all of the above, and put together this xAI. Now, remember, he's a guy that started OpenAI, and then Microsoft came in and kind of said, he basically told them, either I'm the CEO or I'm getting off the train here for OpenAI, and so he left. And now he's doing xAI, and a lot of speculation around him doing xAI is that he wants to, if there's some type of regulatory board that's created in the United States or in the world that has to do with AI development, because he has this company, he's given an authoritative position to be able to be on that board. And so that's kind of the leverage he's using. And the basis of this whole xAI is that to understand the universe, which is really like Star Trek style to me. And like, what are you talking about? Understand the universe? There's that's not even like comprehensible idea. Like, it's just
Well,
so much in the universe.
maybe he knows something that we don't.
Yeah, I'm sure he knows a lot that we don't.
Yeah.
Let's be clear. This guy knows a lot of stuff that a lot of people don't know. I mean, I think he's just trying to get back to his home planet.
Yes,
Ultimately,
probably. Yeah, he landed here, and the technology isn't suitable for him to be able to return. So he's trying to develop the technology. Yeah,
it's like Back to the Future when they get stuck because they don't have enough energy to launch the time travel machine.
right. And they have to use the train.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's stuck in the same space. But no, it'll be interesting to see how this AI stuff works out with him. I'm curious to see what kind of user base he's going to launch. Is it going to be Mid Journey, Bard, Chat GPT? How is it going to look, and what's he going to do differently that'll allow for this to be innovative and effective, create revenue, all the above?
I think he also wants to build safeguards into it, doesn't he? So it doesn't like take over humanity. That's what he's.
Yeah, I don't. At the end of the
And he doesn't
day,
want it to be woke either.
well, yeah, woke AI, right? But the truth is that he's yeah, there you go. That's what I was thinking. Is like, the AI Neuralink. You put it in the back of your head and becomes 15 times more intelligent than you currently are. The real
Oh my
question
goodness.
is define what is intelligence. So that's where I thought this was going, actually, is like the AI transhumanism world. Um, so
Yeah.
superhumans, if we can get your whole brain to operate with artificial intelligence.
Oh
Does
my
it move
goodness.
faster?
That,
Does it move slower? What kind of neurons can we create a quicker synapses? Does this AI technology allow you to release dopamine based on neuron synapses and all these other things that people use chemically? Like, there's a whole plethora of uh, transhumanism concepts that come into play with AI too, which is kind of
yeah.
like, it gets a little scary, and Elon Musk does stuff it's pretty scary, like launching rockets that explode on purpose. But hey,
Well, those are tests, aren't they? But he said sometimes they knew that they were going to explode. They just needed to see how far it made it or whatever. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's good to see that he's in the game still, because it is a scary thing. AI. I personally really am not into it. I've had Chat GPT write scripts for me, and they're not that good. And also, when I go on the internet and I search for some articles, I can normally tell if it's written by an AI. I just get the feeling this looks like it's written by someone who doesn't understand a thing about the topic. They're just like they're just like quoting from and paraphrasing other stuff. So I feel like you can tell. It still needs a human to sort of, I don't know. Often when I write a script with AI, I totally rewrite it. So, and it ends up being no point in even using the AI to write it. So I'm not a big fan, I'm afraid.
No, I mean, it's interesting to think because we're at the beginning of this AI revolution. So think about cell phones in 2001, 2098. They're these
Right. Yeah.
bricks. And then think about them 10 years later, you got an iPhone.
Yeah.
So we're at the very beginning of AI.
I'm not going to have AI components, to be honest. I think like each generation, there's some things that you just will not go beyond. You know what I mean? Like some elderly people now, they never used a cell phone their whole life, so they still just don't use one. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
think for me,
my grandma never drove a car.
never drove a car. How old was
Yeah.
your grandma?
I mean, I think she was born in the 20s.
Okay, not that old. Well, anyway, but yeah, I've noticed that, each generation there's like a line that they don't cross, most of them. So like for me, I've got a cell phone and everything, obviously. But I probably won't, I'm really not interested in this whole AI thing. I just don't like the concept. I probably won't use it. I don't like the idea of a Neuralink going into my head. I think that's a line I wouldn't cross. I think a lot of young people now will probably think that that would be cool. But yeah, for me, I don't like being glued to a phone all day anyway, or a computer. So I even more so wouldn't want that in my head.
Yeah, let's make it more comprehensive so that I can just open up and hey Siri, go to
For me,
ChatGPT,
yeah,
figure
I
this
guess
out.
for me, it's like I guess I don't like using AI, but I don't want more interaction with computers. I want less. So if there's an AI that can anticipate things so that I don't need to react, I don't need to interact with computers so much. That's cool. All right, let's move on. Let's move on because I think we've got one more story left, and this is important to talk about because that's the movie, The Sound of Freedom, which has had some really great revenue. Uh, do you want to talk about that?
So Sound of Freedom and Indiana Jones were the big releases for the 4th of July movie, right? It's Fox News says that it outgrossed Indiana Jones. Other reports say Indiana Jones outgrossed it by a couple 100,000. Truth is, it's probably even. They both made about $11.5 million opening
I
4th of
think
July.
I think they were including pre-sales in that, right? And Disney sort of protested, saying like, "Oh, you're including the pre-sale, so it doesn't count."
Yeah,
Right?
right. Well, it's interesting because Disney owned the rights to this movie. This film was shot in 2018. It took 5 years for them to get it out to the public. Now, so I went and saw both these movies. I had to go see Sound of Freedom yesterday. I knew we were going to talk about it a little bit today. And people made Sound of Freedom sound like it was going to release something that was just toxic to some culture, or toxic, or some fake lies from the right wing, or this, that, and the other. And the truth is it's just exposing child sex, human trafficking, which is, yeah, I don't know one person who would deny that it exists. So the truth is that it put it in a very cinematic light for a true story about Tim Ballard, a Homeland Security agent who saved several hundred children in his line of work. And it didn't really go into anything that was really Q, or whatever you want to call the nonsense. It didn't go into that. It was just talking about how people in South America lure children in that are in very poor places. They used Honduras as the place where an attractive Colombian woman comes in and puts the children in, um, and basically sells them on the child marketing, and yeah. So it says 40 million here. It's actually earned 53 million since its opening. Indiana Jones is up to 258 million worldwide. It's in twice as many theaters in the United States as Sound of Freedom. Sound of Freedom's really pushing through buying tickets for everybody else.
So this is the lady who said that there was no AC in her theater, wasn't it?
Well, this is one of the ladies. There's over 200 or 300 people that came out and put out TikToks over the last couple of weeks that said the opening day there was no AC in the theaters. But I went yesterday at 7:15 show and it was a sold out theater.
Wow.
10 days later, sold out theater, 7:15. I had one seat that was in the middle towards the front. Um, it's pretty interesting that the review from a lot of different is superhero movie for bad dads with brainworms. See, this to me is like, how could you even say that it's like tinged
Yeah.
thriller about child trafficking? That
It's an
honestly,
attack, isn't it?
it is, and I don't know why they would attack it because it's trying to do. It's not like they're saying elites are going after children, or they're like saying the cartels traffic children. It's basically what they're saying,
Yeah.
and it's like something everybody already knows. So I wonder why there's so much.
Well, it's because they're the ones doing it, isn't it? It's because they're all involved.
Well,
You know,
the animosity towards this
Jezebel.
film is just
Jezebel is one of the worst, woke websites.
yeah. It's just really crazy to me to think about. Uh, this isn't some Q movie. This isn't like out of the box. Like if you would have just saw it, you'd have been like, wow, this is pretty
Right.
crazy. It's touching. People were crying. It's a really riveting film, especially if you have children. You watch this and you're like, no way. It's really a story about a man who takes his two children to go and be models or for a modeling agency, and she tells them that come back at 7 p.m. to pick up your daughter and son, and they're like 6 and 9 or 8 years old. And when he comes back to pick him up, the whole apartment that he dropped him off in is completely gutted. The signs off the door. And this is like Honduras in the middle of nowhere. Like, no, you're not going to find your kids after that. Like, that's all said and done. Good luck.
Oh, it's like there's no one there. It's disappeared.
Well, yeah, the facility that where he dropped his kids off for this potential modeling career. He comes back at 7 p.m. to pick him up. This is really like
Wow.
empty. There's nothing there. It's completely gutted, and he freaks out and he's running down the street. What can you do though? It's Honduras. Like the government there is not going to do anything for you. Like they're going to be like, yeah, well, there's another 100,000 we lost last year, so sorry. Like it's ridiculous, and I don't understand how this is thought of as some type of film that's around uh trying to be woke or being whatever they want to describe it. Like, these are children, and it's a real story. Like, this happens every
True
single
story, isn't it?
day. Yeah,
Basically a true story.
based on a true story. Disney shelved the project in 2018. It was originally done by Fox Studios. They paid for it. They were going to put it through. Disney bought Fox Studios. They shelved it. Angel Studios, based out of Utah, bought it. The only thing I can think of is that it's a Christian-based company that bought it. And the main actor Caviezel played
Passion of the Christ.
Yeah, right. That's it. But when you actually look at the whole film itself, this film is like grade A quality film.
Well, it's interesting that Disney shelved it around, after like the whole Epstein Island allegations really came out. Epstein was, arrested and stuff. All that came to the public eye. And then they sort of thought, oh, this might not be the best time to release this film. I mean, to be honest, it would be, from a financial perspective, it probably would have been the best time. But for them, if they really are behind the scenes involved in some of this stuff, then it wouldn't be the best time.
Yeah, and it's crazy to think like the cost to do Indiana Jones, the budget's 250 million to 300 million. They brought in about 250 million worldwide. The budget on this film was 14.5 million. They brought in 53 million. So when you talk about profit, this is destroying Indiana Jones.
Man, Angel Studios is going to be huge. I mean, because They started like they did the Chosen. Have you seen that?
They did Chosen, and then they did Abram. They're Christian based products.
The Chosen is so good. I binge watched the first 3 seasons of it, and they're doing like 7 seasons.
Oh,
And originally they like crowdfunded it at the beginning.
yeah, that's how they were doing the whole thing. That's how they did the Abraham or Abram
And
movie.
now they've
But
got like 60 million, 50 million bucks. So
well, well, I was wondering, is this the beginning of the Sound of Freedom series? Because it was very mild based on the knowledge that I have of what's goes on. I work with people that do documentary films on border stuff, trafficking stuff, and this was just is very vanilla when you really think about it.
well, maybe it does have to be mild though to go mainstream. I think the average person can't really handle the truth of these things.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I thought. But I thought it was great. But when I walked out of there, I was like, What's the big deal? Like this isn't even a portion.
Mm,
Like
yeah,
there's places in Texas right now where you show up, you're gonna be like, what the? This is real,
yeah.
and that's in America, and like you can legitimately figure it all out. So it's interesting to think that they they're trying to go after it so hard.
Right.
Yeah, did
Wow.
Biden lose 85,000 migrant children? Exactly. Like, so this is the Center for Immigration Studies. This is not some crazy Fox News channel or CNN. This is like, here you go, study, hand you over. This is what you get. Um, but I wonder if there's going to be like Sound of Freedom 2, where they start to like peel it off a little bit more.
Yeah,
You know,
maybe. I mean, if the first one was so successful, it makes sense to make a sequel.
right? Yeah, absolutely. But on a lighter note, I wanted to bring up something else. Um, the world's richest beggar is now worth $1 million.
How? How?
He is spend he's begs in Mumbai, around
Okay.
the tech cap. This is the tech financial capital of India, and he came from nothing but poverty. It's a New York Post article.
It's like
Um,
Slumdog Millionaire.
yeah, Slumdog Millionaire, except he's begging backdoor millionaire. And,
I guess it's just a numbers game, right? If you beg $1 from a million people over your career, you've got $1 million.
well, yeah. Well, the thing is that I guess he invested into a couple of boutiques with his
Ah,
money, and his family kind of tells him like you should stop begging, but he looks at it as an occupation. He makes about $30 a day. Now, $30 a day in America is not really much, but in India, I'm sure it goes a long way.
probably
There he
does.
is.
Yeah.
There he is right there. That's the richest beggar in the world. Now, this is the richest public beggar. I can guarantee you there are some people in Manhattan. It was 2008. I was working in Manhattan. I'm at Taco Bell. I'm scraping together some money to get a taco. And this guy comes over and he's like, can I get a little change? And I was like, how about you get a job? And he pulls out a knot from his pocket. I mean, probably $1,000 in cash. And he goes, this is my job. And he walks away. And I was just like, what do you, okay. And, it was just my
Wow.
first reckoning for how much money beggars can actually make. Um, so yeah, you can definitely make the income. I mean, I tried it once in Boston for 5 hours when I
Really?
was a
What?
kid.
How much did you make?
$100.
Whoa.
I was
Not bad.
17. I literally sat outside of TGI Fridays with a coffee cup, and just sat there and didn't look at anybody and just moved my cup around like this. And I ended up making $100. The TGI Fridays manager came out and gave me 5 dinner passes to TGI Fridays.
Wow.
And I was just like, okay, I guess this could really work out. I never did it again. I just wanted to see what see what it worked. Does it work? Is it really
That's
viable?
amazing.
So I think this is the largest public beggar, and I bet you his family released it because they were ashamed of him. Now that they're legit, his kids go to private schools. So
He's not really a beggar anymore. He's an investor. It's just his capital comes from begging. Hey, there you go. You were saying the price of money is too expensive. Price of
free
capital is
money's
too
the
much.
best
Just
money for him.
beg. Yeah, just beg and get some money. Well,
Yeah.
anyway, that's kind of a funny note to end the show on today. So guys, you have been watching Dirty Money, and if you're listening to us on any of the podcast platforms, do give us a 5-star review, share the show with your friends. You can also follow on YouTube, on TikTok, and on Instagram. Our handle is Dirty Money Show on all of those platforms. We put out micro content on those platforms every day. Thank you so much for joining us, Mike.
Thank you.
As always, it's been a pleasure, and we'll see you on the next episode of Dirty Money.